All too often the busyness and the urgency of our modern world can be overwhelming. And it doesn't really matter. None of that is real. Keep exploring and be curious. Find a place that makes your heart flutter, whether it's you read about it in a book or you hear somebody talk about it. And you need to get to that place, and you need to give yourself time to let it speak to you. What does the land tell you? What does the sea tell you? That's where connections will happen. That's where you will really hear the stories that count, and you'll really see what this world is and what it has to offer and what we have to lose. As a kid, I loved adventures. And at the time, you didn't call them adventures. It's just, oh yeah, let's go to the creek. Let's go to the beach. Let's go around the headland. What's over there? Let's find out. There was never anything that made as much sense as when I was outside, being amongst the natural world. As I grew older and I learned about other adventures, and I read more about, particularly about the early explorers, people that traveled to these places that had never had human contact before. I wanted to see this and experience this myself. And I wanted to see places where people didn't dominate. I wanted to get to a place that felt like it was as it should be, or as it always was. Then the places that I wanted to see, I realised, were islands, because islands were often more likely to be in a state that they first were several hundred years ago. In Hawaii, like New Zealand, like many of the offshore islands around Australia, there's never been any true predatory mammals there. And so these places were all about birds. Birds arrived, and birds evolved into the many different niches. They lost flight, and they got bigger, and they took the place of browsing animals that you see elsewhere in the world. Or they evolved into many different types of songbirds, in concert with the flowers, different flower shapes. And they had beautiful marriages across the plant and animal kingdom. The breadth of diversity was just remarkable. You're in another world, you're in a whole nother world. And these places were changed. They were changed dramatically with the introduction of invasive species. Cats and rats and mongoose. These animals, they're either introduced accidentally or they are brought along deliberately. And they're to be respected and to be feared. There's nothing so remarkable and just so persistent and voracious as a rat. When you see them and what they're capable of, you have nothing but respect for how efficient they are at killing and how efficient they are at changing everything, eating seeds, eating lizards, eating invertebrates, eating birds, eating eggs. There's nothing that they won't try. And they breed quickly, they learn quickly, they are hyper intelligent, and they are the type of animal that these native birds have had no exposure to. They evolved in the complete absence of these types of predators. And so when they come in contact, there's no competition. These birds don't survive. They'll be eaten. It's plain and simple. I can't live in a world, and I don't want to live in a world, that becomes more depauperate. Opportunities on islands are extraordinary. You can do things on islands you cannot do on mainlands. So islands give us a reason to say, let's do something here that's going to make the rest of the world take notice, and will give us the opportunity to make people feel optimistic. And for these threatened species, there's these things that are at risk of going extinct, that they have an opportunity to survive. That's what gives me hope. That's what gives other people hope. That's what drives us all to say things like, let's do that again. Let's find the next one. Where can we do that again? And I'm in love with that feeling.